that guy makes $1 million a year. Oh shit.
He's a nice boy.
I know. All right, let me
Make
see.
sure we got our cameras on.
Let's go.
Let's try it again.
Hello?
Can you guys hear? Yep. Looking good. All right.
All right. You guys leaving?
Adios.
All right. Good morning. How is everybody doing? Good morning. All right. I love it. This is very weird looking at the camera, but I am so excited to see you beautiful people on the TV in the back. So tell me who we have joining us today real quick, if you guys don't mind, because I'm trying to get to know everybody's name. So if we can go around the room and you can just say your name and how long you've been here and what you do. I mean, as far as, are you a producer or a leader or working on being a leader? I just want to kind of get to know you guys just a little bit. So, and then we'll get into good stuff, I promise. Did everybody come with questions today? Okay. You virtual people have to get fired up with us, okay? Awesome. So can we start with you, sir?
I'm Rich Straub, and I've been here approximately a year.
Okay, very good, Rich. I've seen your name and I know I saw you on Monday. So now I'm going to remember Rich. Anybody have any tricks for remembering names?
Slick Rich.
Slick Rick.
My name is Marvin Mondragon, and I'm an SA with Reich. I've been here for about 10 months now.
Okay.
My name is Faith Jones, and also one of Reich's essays, and I've been here about 8 months.
Okay.
I'm Henry with Reich as well. I've been here for like 4 months.
And you got the memo today. We're wearing the same clothes.
Yeah. It's fun day today.
Love it.
Hi, I'm Mason.
Mason. Mason's always smiling.
I'm an essay under Casey.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm Aubrey. I'm Vince's assistant. I've been here since December.
Cool.
I'm Dalton. I'm a essay under Huntsburg.
Awesome.
I'm Steve Nellis. I'm an SA under Hansberger. Been here for about 8 months.
Okay.
I'm Alex. I started about 2 months ago. I'm under Hunt as well.
Awesome.
I'm Matt Brown. I'm with Huntsberger as well, and I've been here just about a year.
Okay, very good. So we've got everybody in this room has been here almost a year, it seems like, if we average it out. So in virtual land, I can't see any names on here. Now they're here. Matt, you're the first person in the corner on here. How long have you been with us?
Matt Jans, me. There's a lot of Matts on here.
Yes, we have a bunch.
Matt Wasson?
Wasson.
Okay, Matt Wasson.
Wasson.
Wasson. All right,
Yeah.
third time's a charm. How long
Yeah.
have you been here, sir?
Natalie, I have been around since March 15th.
Okay.
About 3 months.
Awesome. So recently joined us. And then we have, let me see here, Matt Jans. I've heard of him before. How long have you been with the company, Matt?
I believe coming on 10 months. Started in August of 2020. I'm an essay with Drew Hurston and Tommy Whalen.
All right. I love it. And then next on my screen, I have Miss Christina. Everybody knows Christina, right?
Hi, Natalie.
Hard not to know somebody that blazes the way, girl. How long have you been with us now?
I just did the math. Now it's 7 months. I've been saying 6 months. We're in June now. So now it's 7 months and I'm an essay.
Yay. Thanks for joining us today, girl. Good to see you.
Of course. You as well.
Marquise also got the memo. He's wearing the same clothes as the rest of us. So, Marquise, how long have you been here, sir?
7 months now. Started in November of last year. Essay under Melissa.
Very good. Awesome to have you today. And then I have Marissa. Marissa, I got to meet on Monday. Good to see you, girl. How long you been with us?
I've been here since September. That's basically when I started. I got recruited by Mr. V, and I'm an essay under Casey or Mr. V. I don't know exactly.
Is this like, do you guys have any idea who I'm going to call on next? Because it's different on your screen, right? So you're all just sitting there like, oh, Lord, what comes next, right? I'm actually going in order for us over here. So Sydney, how long have you been here, dear?
I actually was just released on Monday, so this is my second week.
Ooh, yay. How was your first week?
Amazing. I got a 2 a.m. sit with an accountant and we were able to get her a 10-year renewable and convertible because she did not care about her family. But then we were able to, I've learned so much in the past 2 weeks, like seriously.
Oh, girl, I love it. Awesome. Good to have you. I love when we have some people that, I mean, we have a wide range of experience here. So cool. And then we have Melissa. Melissa's another celebrity that I can't figure out why I can't just see her in person. So Melissa, how long have you been with the company now, dear?
I'm going on almost a year, basically 11 months right now. July will be, no, next month will be, yeah, I think it's July. I don't know my days anymore. I'm just going with it. But you probably hear me a lot because of Gio Vaca. So he's the one that basically brought me in. And I am currently a GA.
Awesome. Now, are you in the Chicago area or are you back in PA?
Oh, no, I'm actually in the Chicago area right now.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
I thought so. I just wanted to make sure because I said to Tommy earlier in the week that I couldn't figure out why I hadn't gotten to see Melissa yet.
Oh, if you want, I'll come down right now. It's not that far. I'll drive right now to the office and give you a nice hug.
No problem. I'm leaving today, but next time I have to catch you in person. I've heard lots of great things.
I'm glad.
All right, Alejandro, how long you been with us, sir? He's on mute. Wait a minute. This looks like your brother.
Hey, Natalie. Yeah, that's my brother Marvin.
Hey.
I've been with the company for about
So who's
6
been
months
here
now.
longer? Okay. Very cool. You have another brother on here?
He's not on the call right now.
Okay. And then Shayla? Shayla, we want to see your beautiful face, dear.
Hi, sorry, I'm driving. I've been here for 5 months.
Okay. Good to meet you, Miss Shayla. Eric, your name sounds familiar. How long you been here, sir?
So I've been with the company. I got released March 15th. So about 4
Okay.
months.
Very good. Well, welcome. Good
Thank
to
you.
have you today.
It's great to be
Gina.
here.
I've heard good things about Miss Gina. How long have you been here, Gina?
Thanks, Natalie. I actually got released last month, so I think I'm going on 4 weeks as of this week.
Okay, very good. Ronnie Thomas. Am I saying it right? Is it Ronnie or Roni?
It's Ronnie.
Okay, perfect. How long you been with us, Ronnie?
Only a week.
Oh my. Well, welcome. Really welcome.
Thank you.
Indira, how long you been with us,
Hi.
dear?
Wow, you said my name right. So that's awesome. I got released about 3 weeks ago now, and I am under Ashley Maza.
Okay, very good. And then Kelsey, how long you been with us, Kelsey?
I got released, it was like the middle of May, so a little over or about a month. And I'm under Huns.
Your mother hen?
Oh, I'm under Huns.
Under what?
Hunsberger.
Oh, okay, I got it. Sorry. Sometimes the technology is not in our favor, or my hearing is just off. I mean, you never know which it is, right? Patrick Sullivan. Here's another familiar name and face. How long you been
Hi.
with us, sir?
About 4 months now, 4.5 months, and I'm one of Hunsberger's essays as well.
All right, awesome. Good to have you today. And then Andres.
Hey, how's it going? So I've been with the company about 9-10 months now, and I'm an agent with Tommy Whalen's GAT.
How come you don't come in here and join us instead of being in the other room?
I can do that.
Oh, goodness. All right, guys. So listen, I don't want to take up all of you guys' time with you having to listen to a bunch of people introduce themselves that you already know, but I like to know a little bit before I just get into this stuff, a little bit about who I'm talking with as far as, you know, how long you guys have been here and what you're focused on. And that's important because it's a lot different to talk with a group of people that have been here for 10 years than it is to talk with people that are brand new. So anyway, it's an honor that Tommy actually asked me to speak today with you guys. I love, you know, I've told them last night, we had a chance to go to dinner. And, you know, I mentioned that you guys, first of all, obviously, you know, from the meeting on Monday that Chicago is my home. So it's very dear to my heart. I don't live here anymore. I moved to the palm trees in Florida. But when I come back here, it feels like I'm at home, you know, like I woke up in a hotel on Tuesday and I thought, why am I in a hotel? Like, this is all like my neighborhood, you know? So, with that being said, guys, I'm kind of biased as far as you guys and your results and winning here and making sure that we can do everything that we can to give you guys the support that you need to hit your goals. Because in reality, I mean, you guys are always going to be my favorite because it's home, right? So we have to win at home, right? No matter what sport we're playing. So I'm just really excited to talk with you guys today. Anything that I can do to help you guys. I know that we had talked on Monday and asked you guys to write down some questions for some Q&A because it's usually a little bit more impactful, I would say, that instead of me just getting up here and speaking at you and giving a speech and trying, you guys have motivation all around you. Like there's no reason for me to get up here and try to motivate you. You can get that in any 2 square foot space in this entire office. It's one of the things that's so wonderful about this team and really one of the qualities that they bring to the table that will continue to help them to win for years and months and decades to come, however long, you know, people are focused on that. So I just want to thank you guys for welcoming me. But to tell you guys a little bit about me, if there were any of you that missed the meeting on Monday, I've been with the company now, coming up the end of this month will be my 16-year anniversary with AIL. So my story is a little bit different because, well, I mean, everybody's story is different, but I went to college at Illinois State University and I was majoring in English, and my goal was to go on really I was focused on a degree in English purely because I wanted to go to law school, and English was easy for me. And you have to have high scores to get into law school, right? So what I did was I essentially got tired of going to school and trying to work full time. I was not somebody where I had a bunch of financial aid to go to college. It was like I was working full time and paying for school full time. And it just got to the point, guys, where it just felt like nothing was ever enough as far as the money I had coming in to try to pay for school and support myself at the same time. So honestly, I got tired of being broke. Like, I mean, that's the honest to God truth. And I said, you know what? I will come back to this and I will do what I want to do with my degree, but I need to make money right now. And so it's funny, I actually was in my apartment at Illinois State, and I was still going to school part-time, but I was interviewing, and I called this ad in the newspaper. And I actually, what a lot of people don't know, started before I came to AIL with a little tiny company called Family Heritage. Any of you guys heard of Family Heritage? Well, the ironic thing is that at the time, Family Heritage, what they did was they went door to door selling insurance. We would knock on people's doors and we would say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood talking to you guys about cancer, because what we sold was cancer insurance and like our A71 and our hospital indemnity plan. That was what their whole focus was as a company. And so what I did, guys, was I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this everything I've got, because this is something that even if it's not going to be something long-term, it's something that I can get some really good skills out of, right? That will help me in the job market. So I actually got licensed and started working in benefits with Family Heritage. And I was with them for about a year and a half. I was nationally ranked within the company as far as sales, and I was completely broke. They sent me to Colorado to go out and train some people. And I walked into an office while I was in Colorado. A friend of mine, it's funny because we always talk about how personal recruits are important, right? And a friend of mine from Family Heritage had said, Natalie, listen, you need to go into this interview with American Income. And I said, well, what? I'm in Colorado. Like, I live in Illinois. Like, how is that? And she's like, oh, they're all over the country, but just go in, you know. So I went in for an interview, and I was probably the worst candidate on the planet, because I'm sitting in the group and I remember my SGA said at the time, one of the things that has to be in line for this to work out for both of us is that your timing has to be right, right? Timing is everything, he said. And he's like, so for example, if, you know, your car is on the verge of breaking down, now is not the right time, because at the time we had to like go physically see people. That was the only way we did things, right? And so I was sitting in the group thinking, this is like going to be the place where I retire from, but my transmission is going out. So should I, like, you know, take this guy's advice? And I'm like, no, I'm going to just go fix my transmission and make the money that I need to make to fix it. That's exactly the decision that I made. And so I literally started at AIL with 1 tank of gas and nothing to my name in the state of Colorado, which is not where I lived. I was staying in a friend's basement. And I literally, guys, I started with the company in June of 2005. And I spent about 3 months. At the time, we had to be here for 3 months before we could even get considered for a promotion. So what I did was I focused on my supervising agent promotion, because I had trained people with my other company. And I got promoted after 3 months with the company. And then I was an SA for about 3 months when they asked me if I would be interested in moving to LA to open up operations with my MGA, who was going to be promoted to an SGA, which is why I had the opportunity to run operations in LA. So fast forward to, gosh, I went to LA, then I came back to Chicago, then I came to home office. And why do I share that with you guys is, you know, I think that we have a lot of people that are new here. And I don't think that in the years of experience that I have had with this company, that very many success stories start with, I was born with a golden spoon and everything was handed to me. Like, I haven't heard anyone say that. In fact, we have this Women's Wednesday that we do for the company. Has anybody ever been on that from this agency, by the way? Awesome. I got to speak for like the very first one when we still didn't even know what we were doing. So now the format is a lot better and there's a lot better content. But when we started doing this Women's Wednesday, guys, it was absolutely amazing to me. And I would encourage all of you to attend because it has nothing to do with being female. What it's about is that it's females that are successful in the company. But obviously it's sharing tips for anyone, right? And I always tell our gentlemen, like, please join, because if you're in leadership, you're going to have females on your team, right? And sometimes we really address things that are specific to coaching people through difficult times as a female, but sometimes it applies to everyone. And we just want to make sure as a company, we're able to give you guys everything that you need from a well-rounded perspective. But my point, because I'm getting off on a tangent, is that every one of these speakers that came on here, guys, like I helped organize this initiative because we found out as of last December when we ran the numbers that 52% of our field force is female. So way to go, ladies, because when I started, it was like 20%, if that. So I love that. But we also noticed, guys, that when people started sharing their stories, that very, very rarely did we find a very successful person that did not have to go through extremely high levels of adversity to get where they are. And one of the things that I want to encourage you guys with is that sometimes I think we get caught up in the daily grind of what we do. We overcomplicate things. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, we have to go see these people today, right? Or, oh man, I have to make more phone calls to make sure that I hit my goal. Like, I'm sure that at some point you guys have all felt like that, right? We have people in the waiting room. So I think, that's funny. I think that in that, what's wrong?
Oh, no, I was just saying Stephen Schuler.
I just wondered who it was.
Yeah, I don't know, whoever they work, it's, we got Javon connected and I don't know, somebody, Steven maybe? So I don't even remember what I was saying. So adversity, guys, is greatness doesn't come out of an easy road. You know, it's the bumps in the road that are what determine the outcome of who we become. And that's really in our personal life, in our, you know, our business life, in any type of life. I'm sure you guys have always heard the saying, it's not what happens to you, but it's what happens in you. And I really believe that. You know, my grandma has actually been going through a rough time lately. And she always says to me, life is just a bunch of obstacles. Like, you know, you've heard people say, oh, life is unfair. You know what? It's just life. It's just a journey. And we have to learn to set our goals and what's important to us and not let everything else that we have going on around us distract us and throw us off that path. And sometimes those things are ourself. When we're sitting there and we're like, oh man, I don't want to make phone calls, or, oh man, I really don't want to run this appointment. Or, you know, when I was in the field, it was like, I'm already at $2,000 and it's 8 o'clock and I want to go home, right? But we still have 2 more appointments. It's doing the extra things to get in front of the extra family, to make the additional phone calls, to get the additional appointments, to push yourself to the next level. So guys, you have to set big goals for yourself if you're going to get through those moments and those days. And it's important that you have that in front of you at all times so that you don't lose sight of why you're doing this. Do you guys have a vision board or ever heard of one? That's important. Like, it's always in front of me, because when I don't want to make a phone call, I'm looking at the new Mercedes I want to buy. I'm looking at the house that maybe I can't afford right now. I have to have a carrot in front of me at all times to make sure that I continue to keep going through adversity. And I would recommend that you guys do that as well. The other thing is that you can't quit. Just think, if you do anything for long enough, you have days that make you just want to quit. I mean, wouldn't you agree? In anything that you do, the gym, I want to quit going to the gym like at least every time I visit, but I still keep showing up, right? You know, it's just like Tommy made the analogy the other day when we were talking about how when his kids play sports, he tells them before it starts, like, if you want to do this, we'll do this, but we're not quitting. We have to stick through the whole season, because we're never, guys, going to get good at something without giving it an actual shot. How do we become a professional at something? Practice, right? We just got to keep doing it over and over and over. Repetition. That's why we have the milestone of 100 presentations, right? Because you're always going to know more after doing 100 presentations than you are after doing 5 presentations. So just, guys, keep your goals in front of you. You know, that should motivate you through the tough times, and make sure you surround yourself with an important support system. I never kept people in my life that didn't support my goals, period. I was not going to explain myself to them. I'm not going to sit here and justify why I would rather go protect families and build my retirement and my career versus going out with my friends on a Thursday night or missing something with some social event. The social event, to me, is not going to pay my bills or help me get where I want in my career, and that's important to me. So set your goals. They'll help you through the hard times. Keep the course. That's really the most important thing you can do. You know, there's a saying, I used to laugh because when I first became a director, I was traveling and I was training, and I was working with this gentleman that told me, we got up in front of the room and he introduced me, and he's like, Natalie is just proof that if you do this long enough and you just stick around, good things happen. And I was like, nothing good happened. Like, I made it happen. Like, what are you talking about? This is all. But now that I was able to really let that sink in, guys, it wasn't a cheap shot. It's true, because with the way that we're paid and the way that we receive residual income on every single policy that we write, and then we help other people to achieve their goals, and all of a sudden the company is going to start paying us residual income on everything that they do, and we're actually able to build wealth. That's crazy to me, guys. It's still crazy to me, and it's real, because I already retired from the company once, and then I came back to this job, right? And they still pay me every single month for all the policies that anybody ever wrote. Stick around, because when you do, good things happen. There's no way that you can make less money in your 5th year with the company than you did in your 1st, 2nd, 3rd year with the company, as long as you're applying the same amount of effort and seeing your members. It's absolutely impossible, because you're getting paid on everything that you did before you even get out of bed. Makes sense? So what I want to know from you guys, I don't want to just stand up here and talk at you. I want to get some interaction going, and I'd like to know what kind of questions that you guys have for me. So let me kind of throw some things out there. What I can help you with is anything. There is really not anything that is a stupid question. It can be something about mindset. It can be something about your goals. It can be something about something technical. Anything that you guys want to know, I'm an open book to help you guys. So I want to open this up for about 30, how long do we have? About 30, 45 minutes or so. and anything that you guys need help with, let's get it out there. So guys that are virtual, if you guys don't mind, I don't know if you want, what do you think is easier? Does anybody on here have a question that they came up with? Hand in the air. Okay, cool. That'll work. Oh my
Question.
gosh. I need like someone to help me run this thing. What's going on with, why is this just up? Anyone know?
It's just a window. You can close that. Yeah.
Okay. Indira had a question?
Yes, yes. So, honestly, getting control when I come into, well, not come into people's homes, but when I'm getting them on the Zoom, also just when I'm on the phones, honestly, that is a little hard for me. Like my personality, I'm more of the kind of passive type. I have gotten better at it since I started, but other than, hey, Gio told me to do this, I'm gonna just do it. What would you say helps with just gaining that control and standing your ground with people?
Okay. Well, I think that, gosh, there's so many ways to answer that, because first of all, I think that you get comfortable with something kind of like we talked about by just doing it over and over and over, but also doing it the right way over and over and over. So make sure that, when you're calling, the basic thing everybody knows, but I want to reiterate is you've got to be on the script, because a lot of people will say, well, why can't I get creative with it? Well, there's a few reasons. One, the unions know what we're saying when we call. So we really don't have the option to just call and wing it, right? Two, we already have these scripts outlined that have built-in control, right? Built-in handling objections. Everything is kind of built into your script. So whatever you do, don't get creative and try to do it your own way and think that there will be something easier that comes along. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stick with what works and just keep going over it and over it and over it until you are confident with what you're doing. Guys, even after I made phone calls up until probably 3 years ago, not every day, but I mean, occasionally I would jump in and help people. And I got to tell you, nothing has changed. And I still set an appointment the same way today that I did 16 years ago. It's the same script. But I'll also tell you that after doing it for 13 years, I still have the script in front of me. And it wasn't because I didn't know it. It's because I was holding myself to make sure I did not forget anything on the phone so that I could keep my show ratio high, right? So that I could make sure that it was built in that I was figuring out if there was a spouse in the household. So I wasn't setting myself up for one legs, right? All of that stuff is built into the script. As far as keeping the control and really getting good on the phones, I think that when you do the first part, when you just nail that script over and over until you are confident, and then you've got to make it sound like it's your own. And I don't mean reword it. I mean, get excited about it and project your voice on the phone, because that's something that projects confidence to people. Like when you're calling and you get somebody on the phone that is very loud, I'm not saying you have to scream at them, but when you talk to somebody that is whispering into the phone like this, to me, that says this person's weak or scared. That's what I hear. When you talk to somebody on the phone that's confident and upbeat, loud, the confidence comes through that anyway. So project your voice. Like when I was new, I had to stand up. I could not call sitting down. I would sit in the chair and dial the phone, but as soon as someone answered, I was off and running. Like I could not sit still and talk on the phone, or I sounded like I was sleeping, all slouched over in my chair. So, you've got to open up your diaphragm, so to speak, like they say in singing, and project your voice and talk to your people with a sense of authority. And I think the more comfortable that you get, that will eventually become a lot more natural of a thing. When you gain confidence in what you're saying, it makes it a lot easier and people can hear that in your voice. So I always feel bad for people when they're brand new, because I'm like, man, if they could just get that confidence, they would kill it. It's purely that, they're on the script. They just sound like they're terrified. So just relax and have fun with it, because people can hear that in your voice. Just stick to your script, have fun with it, and don't get caught up in the emotion. It's like some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Like, don't take it personal. Great question, Indira. Who else has a question? Virtual world? All right, we're gonna go to somebody in the
I have
room
a-
here then.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I know I clicked my button a little late there. That's my bad.
Nina.
Yeah. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm excellent.
Good. I have a quick question. You had actually, brought up a little earlier mind, body, and spirit and soul and all that. It kind of touched a little home for me because I had, Ashley Maza, who's like top producer in our agency, and Christina. Everyone's always talking about mind, body, soul. Gio says it all the time. So I find myself struggling a little bit with that balance. I'm in a relationship. I have my family. I have a dog. I just find myself kind of, struggling with balancing everything as far as also getting my mindset right and my body right. Any recommendations that you have when you were new, kind of what helps?
That's the hardest question that somebody asks when they're new, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't believe that everything is going to be convenient and balanced and lucrative and just easy if I'm going to achieve something at an extremely high level. So make no mistake about it. Like, you've got to sacrifice. And listen, I'm not saying you sacrifice your children. I'm not saying that you get rid of your boyfriend or your spouse, or your girlfriend. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is there's just going to have to be short-term sacrifices for long-term success. There's no way to achieve a high level of success without major sacrifices. And the reason that I know that to be a fact is because I've never met anybody that has major level of success without some type of major sacrifice. You get what I'm saying? So there's certain things that are just not going to be balanced right now for any of you that are in your first year or two. But what you've got to remember, and I've always focused on and kept me in it for the long term, is staying focused on the fact that this is a little bit like backwards as far as how the return on what we're putting in versus what we get out, right? Like, we have to put a lot more in the beginning to get something out than we do after we've been here for 5-10 years due to the way we're paid, right? Well, it's kind of like, I used to tell people when I was an RGA that this is the worst $40,000 a year position on the planet and the easiest $250,000 a year job on the planet. And that's true, because when you're brand new, you have to deal with the mental, trying to make sure things are balanced, right? And trying to get everything done and learning a new career and making sure you're making what you need as you're building your base and your residual income. There's a lot going on. So I think that you have to pick and choose the things that you absolutely need in your life, and you need to prioritize those, because we certainly have to make sure we take care of our relationships and our children, right? Or whatever else is important to us. But we've also got to make sure that those people know that this is something that you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit short term in order to get ahead long term. And just trust a little bit, because you guys know residuals are real. There's so many people around you that are earning them. So you've got to just find a little bit of comfort in knowing that right now you're putting in a lot of time for maybe not as much output, but 5-10 years down the road, it's the complete opposite. I mean, you're sitting there looking like, I cannot believe they pay me what they pay me for what I'm doing at this point. It's just that it takes a minute for you to get acclimated when you're in a new industry. That's kind of the best advice that I can give you. But listen, we don't ever sacrifice health. We've got to still make sure we're doing what we need to do to be healthy. There's basic needs we don't sacrifice, right? But we've also got to make sure that we understand that in order to achieve greatness, we're going to probably have to miss a few things here or there, and just kind of prioritize what those things are. I don't know if that helps, but
100%. That actually
to
was
me,
really
it's about the bigger picture and making sure I stay focused on that. What's that, hun?
I was just saying that was perfect. It really
What did she
helped.
say?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Steven, We're going to someone in the room. Can you guys hear Steven? Well, probably not right now because he's not talking.
So, you know, a lot of us were recently promoted to an SA position, and I want to know what changes you made with your personal development back when you became an SA to, you know, start building your team, keep production, learn how to train, and ultimately become a GA.
Okay. It's a great question. So if those of you that couldn't, did you guys in virtual land hear his question? Thumbs up or no? Okay. So basically he said there's a lot of people on the call and in the room that are brand new SAs or supervising agents. And he wanted to know what I did to change my focus and what was important to make sure I could get people trained and developed, right? So I'm actually going to answer this in a different way. You're like, great, I asked a question, you're going to answer a different one. I want to tell you what I did wrong as an SA. Because I'll be honest with you, being an SA to me, I have always been like naturally a teacher. Like I came from, you know, in high school, I always had good grades and I always wanted to help everybody else get good grades. So, you know, I was always not the teacher's pet, but like the assistant, you know, like that was like helping with if people didn't understand. And then in high school, I was in, I was on a competition cheerleading squad, which is very intense, even though some of you are probably like, oh yeah, they're not athletes. We won't get into that today, but you know, it was just, my point was I led the whole squad to like these national championships. So I was always naturally like, I wanted to train people. I wanted to develop people. Like that was something that I had since high school. And the training thing was very easy for me to grasp because to me, it was like, I took it so serious. My mindset was these people's livelihood is in my hands. Like if I can't teach them to do this at a high level, they will not be able to pay their bills and that will be my fault. It will not be their fault because I'm the one that was put in charge of their success. So, you know, that was something that was just instilled in me. Like, you've got to take it personal, number one. Like these people made a commitment to make this a career. Somebody believed in you and put you in charge of making sure that that happens. So I don't know. I've always been somebody where I can let myself down before I can let somebody else down. So that was easy for me. But the part of the business that I did not really understand when I was brand new that really kind of held me back a little bit. And I wouldn't say held me back, but I would have gotten off to a lot faster start if I would have come to grasp this. And that's the recruiting aspect of things, which I'm sure you guys probably get tired of hearing about. But with that being said, the reason, guys, that that's so important and why I just am like, man, I wish people would get this is that, you know, if you handpick your team of people, you can build an empire or, you know, a little tiny little hut, whatever it is that your heart desires, right? You can do that at your own pace. You can have it be as big as you want it to be. You can have it be as small as you want it to be, and it's yours. You have ownership in it. You with me? What a lot of people do is they get the supervising agent contract, and then they're sitting there waiting for their MGA to give them someone to work with. So there's a couple things about that, guys. Like, first of all, if you're an SA, the first level of leadership and you're brand new, do you think that you're going to get the 10 on the squad? Do you think that Michael Jordan is going to be in your car? Probably not. Just because if we got Michael Jordan on the squad, we need to make sure Michael Jordan's training with somebody that has some solid experience, right? So my point is that you don't have any control over that. If you're just waiting for somebody to be given to you to build your business, and this is your business. You know, I always ask people like, how much money do you want to make, right? And they'll tell me, well, I want to make 150 grand a year. And I'll say, okay, well, what are you waiting for? Like you have a builder's contract and you have one agent. Like what are you waiting for? And it's not being facetious. It's that we need to get outside of our comfort zone, treat this like this is our business because it is. This is such a beautiful thing because we have the ability to be in business, but not by ourselves. And we don't have all the expenses that come with owning a State Farm office, so to speak, right? Or some other type of business where we have to get the office space and the staff and all that good stuff. You guys don't have to worry about any of that. You're literally able to grow and build your own business as big or as small as you want it to be. But the biggest mistake that people make is they don't take advantage of that. I made that mistake. I mean, it took me a good 1.5 years, 2 years to really understand. I mean, I was an MGA before I started to understand really why we need to recruit. But at the end of the day, just to keep in perspective for you guys, personal recruits write twice as much business as somebody that we find off of a resume. So if you're training somebody, do you want to find a personal recruit and have them be double as profitable, or do you want to train 2 people to get what 1 person could do through your personals? It's more work, right? The other thing is that they're twice as likely to move into a leadership position. Most agencies that I work with, in order for you to become an MGA, you've got to teach somebody how to be an SA and how to be a GA, right? And once you can do that, and obviously there's a few other qualifications, but then at that point, you're ready to become an MGA, right? So we've got to make sure, guys, I just don't like when I see people that are just waiting for something good to happen to them, because it doesn't work that way. Life doesn't happen by chance. There's no such thing as luck. It's more like, sometimes when you apply a certain amount of effort, things come your way, right? So don't wait to build your deal. Like an SA position, guys, and I'll quit with this and move on to the next question, but an SA position should be a temporary stopping point, like a pit stop on the map, not a destination. Makes sense? Like whenever I hear anyone say, oh, my goal is to be an SA, I'm like, well, like forever? Because if you want to be in leadership, guys, it should be your goal to get to that MGA position within the shortest amount of time possible. And the biggest thing that's going to make the difference with that is your personal recruits. And why is that? Why is the MGA position the place you should want to get to? It's the most lucrative contract with the company. So why are we hanging out at the first level for so long? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
You're welcome. Anybody else in this room have a question, or do we want to go back to virtual? What's wrong, Faith? Why do you look scared?
I don't look scared.
Okay, don't be scared. Did you have a question? No? Yeah, you do. You told me you did.
Well, I mean, kind of just like, a tangent off of that, like going about personally recruiting people and like referrals at the same time, like 2 questions kind of. I know that, I can't remember if it was you that said this, but I know that somewhere I heard somebody at the end of your presentation, you do bibs or whatever, and then you ask them like, hey, do you know anybody that would be good at this too? And so I was wondering how you would go about maybe like asking that to a client. And then just kind of how like, people, like I have a lot of friends, they see what we're doing and they're like, I can tell they're interested, but like I'm having trouble like seriously getting them in. And like, I've had a lot of friends, like personal recruits that just like probably pipeline management. But
Okay, hold on. I'm going to get way off track with this. So we'll be here for 2 hours. So let's go with the first part first, okay? So recruiting from the house, let's talk about that. So I actually think this is one of the most underutilized personal recruiting sources that we have. Don't think, guys, when I say that I waited too long to recruit, I am not telling you that you have to go out and recruit your friends and family members. It's just about having a business owner mindset that anybody you come across is either a candidate to either perhaps join our team if they're looking for something as far as work, or a candidate for our benefits, because everybody, regardless of what they have through their job, loses that when they leave, right? So start looking at people that way. And don't get me wrong, there's still people. Like, we don't have to look at everyone as an AIL like something or another, right? But all I'm saying is, if you can switch your mindset to constantly be looking for that, it will make a big difference. Like when I was new, part of the thing that held me back from personal recruiting is I would just forget. Like I wasn't trained that way. Nobody told me that I needed to do anything with recruiting. It was purely like, we're going to train you to sell insurance. So I did that. Like, I didn't even know it was a thing to bring people to the company until I had been here for probably 6 months. It just was not something that the team I was with focused on. And so it was hard for me to remember that I was always looking for people that wanted to buy insurance, but I didn't start out with the mindset of looking for people that want jobs, right? So I think that the biggest thing is, like, I literally, guys, had to put Post-it notes all over my car, all over my computer, all over everywhere, reminding me that I need to be building my business, like be looking constantly for people that do well at this or could do well at this. So outside of the house, and then I'll get to your question, I would encourage you guys to just start talking to people. They're not going to bite you. And some people will think that they owe you everything for providing them with an opportunity. It's just about finding the right people. Some people are ungrateful no matter what you do, right? So I'm not trying to get everyone to work here, but I want to make sure I'm taking the approach of at least mentioning it to as many people as possible, so I can make sure that I'm not missing out on candidates right in front of me, right? So where is this really easy to do? Number one, Chicago is about to open up. I know that they're opened up a little bit as far as eating, right? Dining out, your servers are the absolute, and bartenders, best people to recruit for doing this. They are already working crappy hours. I remember when I came here and they were like, oh, yeah, on Fridays, you know, we run our last appointment at 9 p.m. So we get home at like 11 or maybe midnight. And then Saturday mornings. And they're like, is that going to be an issue? And I'm like, an issue? I'm used to bartending until 3 in the morning, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is amazing. This is like a dream schedule, right? So your servers, bartenders, service industry, those are the people that you want to reach out to, and just start with a compliment. It doesn't have to be like, you know, I think the biggest mistake people make in personal recruiting is actually giving too much information. It's like, as soon as somebody sounds like they're interested, we puke on them and we tell them that we work until midnight, nights and weekends, and we work on 100% commission, and we're not going to get paid for 6 weeks. Who wants to do that? Like, so my point, guys, is don't be telling people. It's not like when you go to the dentist doesn't say to you, okay, we're going to give you a root canal today. It's really going to hurt. You're going to hate it. You're probably going to go home and want to take a nap after this. Like, why do they not do that? Nobody, right. That's not anything that's positive, but it's just part of going to the dentist sometimes. Once in a while, if things get bad, right? It's the same way here. It's just part of starting a new career. But we don't need to advertise all the bad things, and then we forget to talk about the things that are great. So my point is, don't pre-screen people when you're trying to personal recruit them. Keep it simple. And for time purposes sake, I'm not going to go through what I would say, just because I literally say exactly what is hanging on the wall. And I forget whose office, the Steve Greer's personal recruiting script. It's word for word. You just start with a compliment. It's usually at the table, hey girl, you did a great job today with, you know, waiting on us and taking care of our drinks and our service. How long have you been here? And then I always ask them, is this the long-term plan? If they say yes, then I'm going to say, okay, really awesome. Good job. I can't wait to see you run McDonald's. And then I'm going to move on. It doesn't make them a bad person. Some people are happy. We can't try to convince people that they need to do what they're doing is not right. That's not the point of this. It's purely ask them. 9 out of 10 people will tell you this is not my long-term plan. I'm here because I'm just trying to get some income during school, which is finishing up soon. I just couldn't find anything. And now I've just been here. So I'm still looking. You know, you get that all the time. You've just got to ask. And I'm not, again, like I said, going to go through the rest of it due to time purposes. But don't try to change the world, guys, with convincing people this is where they should want to work. It's just about talking to enough people. People are looking for positions out there. So to get to the piece about in the house, I think this is like the easiest recruit that we can possibly really have a conversation about. And where I do it, to me, everything is about flow. Now, how many of you, show of hands, were here before the pandemic? Anybody? Like, did anybody actually run appointments in the field in this room?
agency started, like, kind of,
Right,
right
Agents,
after?
we started rolling around March.
Okay.
It was always in there.
so when you, yeah, that's a good point. I just thought of that. Like I've known Tommy for 13 years, but this office was new last year. So,
A lot of us have gone in person though, just
Yeah.
to, like, for me, like, I only do it in person.
well, the reason I'm asking is because when we were in person, we had like e-app and we played probably a couple of videos, maybe not all of them, but we use the laptop more than we do when we're virtual, right? And what I'm referring to is there's a video in there that is after the initial introduction video. There's a second part of that that talks about AIL giving back to the community. Do you guys know what I'm talking about or no? Whether you played it or not, I don't care, but just, you know what I'm talking about in there? So that video to me, whether I play it or whether I don't, when that thing pops up, when I'm going through my e-app, that's my reminder to make sure I'm asking them if they're looking for jobs. And I'll tell you why, because it's the one about community and I tie it directly into community. I actually asked them right there at the beginning before I asked them for any referrals as far as like your no cost benefits, right? Because that's before you get into that. So I would just go right into, one of the things that's really important to our company is giving back to the communities that we work in. And one of the ways that we give back is that before we dig into our general resume database, we always ask the families that we work with if there's anyone in their circle of influence that we can help get back to work. Make sense? And
Can you
then
repeat
it's
that?
just, who do you know? What's that? Did somebody say
Sorry,
something?
could you just repeat that one more time? That was really good, Natalie.
I just say one of the things that our company believes in is giving back to the community that we work in. And one of the things that we focus on in order to give back is doing what we can to put our family members back to work, our union. I don't know. How did I say it? See, I hate when people ask me to repeat things. Yes, before we reach into our general resume database, we always ask you guys if there's anyone in your circle of influence that is currently on the job market. And then, I'll tell them they don't have to be unemployed. Maybe they're underemployed. Maybe they're unemployed, but anybody that you know of that is looking for a new position. And I take down those names like I do referrals, guys. Like it should be that you're able to get multiple people if you ask that way and you do it every time. But the key is doing it every time. And then the other key is not answering any of the questions that they ask. Now, I love that we actually have a member of our admin team in here today because this is going to prove my point. Why do we tell these people in the house that we're looking specifically for people to sell insurance when it's just not really a sexy thing? Because who's to say they have to sell insurance? How do we know we're not going to have somebody that would be a perfect fit to, assist one of the MGAs with running their deal? How do we know that there's not somebody in the office that maybe could use some additional help with setting appointments? How do we know that this person maybe doesn't fit for the benefits side of things, but what if you find somebody that knows a lot of people that can help you to hire and build your team even bigger? So my point is not that I want you to mislead, but that I don't want you to throw up all of the negative information on them, like we kind of talked about a minute ago, and then expect people to want to come work here. Like I give them very limited information on the position. I want to get them in the group because that's going to answer all their questions. So if they start asking me, oh, is this doing what you do? We do have positions available that we're looking to fill doing what I do. We also have other positions available, right? The other thing that I never want to do in the house is I don't want to take too much power on myself as far as getting them a job. I don't want to be I don't need them sitting in there. Like one time I really built up, oh yeah, I was going to get these people an interview. They gave me 10 people and then they spent an hour and a half telling me, selling these people to me on why they would all be great to work here. And then I only got a hold of 2 of them. You know what I mean? So What I'm saying is you don't want to tell them, oh yeah, I'm the hiring director. I can make sure, that we can get them in. No, all you can do, it's easier if you put it on your MGA or you put it on your upline manager. And it doesn't mean that you're devaluing yourself. So don't think that. But it always makes it sound better when there's somebody else that's going to reach out. It's always going to be easier for somebody else to probably get them set than it is for somebody brand new. So I would say, listen, I cannot promise them a job, but what I can promise is that I will put in a good word for them and pass their name along to our hiring director. That's it. Sometimes they'll tell you right in the house, oh, I'm looking for work, right? Same thing. Listen, I love it. I'm going to go ahead and put in a strong recommendation for you with our hiring manager. But I just want to let you know up front, I can promise you an interview. I cannot promise you a job. From there, it's up to you, right? And put it back on them. Does that answer your question?
That's something into that.
Mhm.
I've tried to recruit in the home, and money always comes up. And the last thing I want to do while it's on someone is tell them I'm getting a commission off of it. Maybe they already assume it. Maybe it's just something in my head that tells me, But when that comes up, what should I say?
When they ask you how you get paid?
Yeah, exactly. Because when you get into conversation on recruiting, like the other day, I sent a woman up and her 2 kids. Her one son was looking for a job, and so I was like, basic, kind of got around to what you were saying. But then, how much how much would you get paid for that? And then what I told him, I was like,
I don't answer questions that are ridiculous. Like I don't mean you. I'm saying when somebody in a house asks me how I get paid, that's ridiculous. That's none of their business. So I don't know. And listen, I'll be honest. Some people have different views on this. I've talked to people that will say, oh yeah, I tell them I work on commission. And then they tell me they're going to give me more people because they like me. So some people, I don't personally, I think that's a very rude question. I think it's none of their business. It's different if we're a group that all works together and we're talking about what we made. But can you imagine walking up to someone you just met and being like, what do you make on an annual basis? Like, that's not a normal question. Do you get what I'm saying? So first and foremost, I'm not going to feel obligated to explain or answer that question to the person that asked it. I would say, first of all, it really depends on the position, because that's the truth. If they're going to be an administrative person, they're not working on commission. If they want to be in leadership, it doesn't make sense for me to go over what I make as an agent. Like, there's no point in getting into that. And typically the way that I answer that is the same way that I answer if somebody tells me they're not buying insurance. Anytime anybody tells me they're not doing anything, I say, oh, that's great, because you actually have to qualify for that. So let's not get the cart ahead of the horse. We'll get to that when we get to it. What do you mean, how much do you make? I don't know if you're even qualified, So that's my point. We've got to make sure that we're not, I think we think very literally. We go out, we protect families, we do this. This is what we do day to day, day in, day out. It gets routine, right? And then when people ask us questions, we feel obligated to give them that answer. But I don't think that's their business. Is anybody offended by that? I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying, I don't mean you guys. Like, I think it's great that you talk about your paychecks and you pat each other on the back and all of that good stuff. We're in a sales business, but to walk into someone's house and have them say, well, how do you get paid? Or how much do you make? That's not. So if they are saying that in regards to personally recruiting, I purely say, listen, that's going to depend on what kind of qualifications they have, what they qualify for. I mean, that's way preliminary. We're just looking for applicants to fill multiple different positions. Who do you know that's on the market? And I'm going to circle right back to what I originally asked, because that is not part of the equation. What was the second part of your question?
You can go to someone else. I feel better.
No, but it was good. What was it?
Oh, it was about, getting your friends in and everything, or people that I've had people come in, they go to the overview and then they just like can't handle the test or the script, and it's like, I don't know if it's just picking the wrong people, but I feel like at the same time, I don't want to just not present. the
Yeah,
opportunity
no.
to-
Guys, I think one of the things that people get discouraged about with personal recruiting is they think that there's like this perception that they're all going to work out or they're all going to do well. If that was the case, we would only hire one person. And I know that that might not sound, but I mean, really, you know, people are going to, not because it's impossible, but because they create roadblocks themselves sometimes, which doesn't make them bad people, but it just, they can't get through that process. Some people just cannot take a test. I don't know. I don't get that. I mean, I've passed it in 3 different states on the first go without opening a book. But for some people, it's just really, really hard. You know what I mean? That's okay. It doesn't make them a bad person. Some people cannot learn a presentation, or at least they get in their head that they can. I think that everyone can do it if they just put their mind to it, right? But I mean, some people just aren't going to do it, and we can't be upset with them. We just got to get our quality through our quantity. And I don't mean that you have to hire 7,000 people. That's not what I'm saying. But just to give yourself a fighting chance with your quality is always going to come from quantity. It doesn't go the other way around. We're wrong too often about people we bring into this business to be too picky on the front end. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have been right about somebody as a hire, but I've probably been wrong more times than I've been right. I've looked at somebody and said, man, I just don't know if this guy can do it, but he's really determined. Like, I don't know I really don't know if he can do it, but he really wants a chance. So I hire him and he's the top producer, right? Or we've all had where we have the rock star coming in, right? And we're super excited because this person's going to be like the next MGA, and you're the one that called them and brought them in. And then they no-show you on the first meeting, right? I mean, it's just, we can't control what people do. So don't get caught up in the negative side of that or get discouraged with that. It's not about that. It's just about making sure that, you know, you're getting the opportunity out there so that you can maximize on the people that are looking for something different, right?
So I was wondering, what are some tips you have on managing expectations in business and in your personal life? I feel like that's caused a lot of obstacles and adversity, it's just managing people's expectations. So what do you have to offer?
As far as expectations, as far as what? Can you be more specific?
You know, specifically with, you know, personal life, relationship, friends, family, you know, like how to set the tone of like making those short-term sacrifices, but also in business, like bringing in new people. I know you said obviously you don't want to, you know, spew a lot of information on it all at once, but like eventually, I feel like you got to set certain expectations and eventually like, you know, tell them more information about the position so that they understand like what is expected of them to reach these high levels of success.
Well, as far as with my, I don't know. I mean, that's to elaborate on that more is difficult just because I don't know that I'm the best person to like answer that for you. I just literally do not keep people around me that don't support my goals. And I mean, it doesn't really matter who you are. And it's not, and I think it might be a little bit about, you know, my childhood upbringing and where I came from. And I'm not saying that if your parents don't support you, you should cut them off and never talk to them again. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, like I would sit down, like I remember sitting down with my dad, who is the ultimate business owner. He's a rancher, for goodness sake. Like it really doesn't get any more self-employed than that. Like you plant stuff in the ground and it grows, and if it doesn't, you don't have any money, right? Like, and it's all just like up to God and the chances and what comes out of the sky and who knows. So, you know, he never understood this business. Like I would tell him like, look, this is the ability for me to be able to grow my own business just like you have, only I don't have to like do the things that you're doing. I don't have to put a bunch of money into it first, right? don't have to plant a bunch of stuff and spend all this money and then hope something grows. Like the planting in this is my work ethic. And it's going to be a lot for 2 to 3 years. I didn't go to Christmas or Thanksgiving, guys, for my first couple years with the company. And it wasn't because I couldn't get off or anything like that. It was because I lived across the country and it took like a day to get anywhere I was going. And I was always at a point in my business where if I left, I was afraid I would come back. And there were so many people dependent upon me that I didn't want to leave them. I look at this like my children. Like I was telling Gio that the other day. I'm like, I don't have any real kids because I already have like 150 of them throughout the country. So that's good for me, right? Like I'm good. So my point is I had to get him on my side, but he didn't ever agree that this was something that was good. In fact, he always told me that this is something that was most likely a scam. I'm like, Dad, it's not a scam. So then it's funny, I left the agency and he goes, all of this stuff you were telling me about these residual incomes, I want to know. I was right, wasn't I? I'm like, no, Dad, you were not right. Like I don't work technically with the company as an agent anymore. And I get a check every single month paying me on all the policies I ever wrote. And you know what he said to me? Now I know this is a scam. So my point is that I don't think that there's always going to be people. You just have to try to put it into something that they can understand. And they don't have to agree with you. They just have to support you in your goals. And that's kind of where I came to with my father. We're very close. I don't cut my dad or my family out of my life. But, you know, I sat down with him and I said, like, listen, man, you're either like on my back making this harder for me, or you have my back and I need you to have my back. This is what I want to make a career out of. And so from there on, it was fine. As far as my friends, that's more what I mean about the people that like don't want to be supportive. Like I don't, we just have, you know, I think it becomes easier as you get a little bit older and a little bit more mature because you start to realize that people that are giving you crap about that, you don't have as much in common with them as you think you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be focused on your career and they're focused on going to the club or whatever the case may be, right? But that doesn't mean that you don't do anything socially. You just got to explain that, you know, this is something that that's important to you. And this is something that you really want to make. I always told people, look, I'm putting in the time now because I'm going to be done working by the time I'm 40. So that's kind of what I can say about that. Now, were you talking about with your agents or just with your family and your?
Like for bringing in recruits, like when you're talking about, you know, all the bad things.
Yes.
Like eventually, you know, you're going to find out how do you manage those expectations.
Okay. Well, I don't think that there's really anything that's unrealistically crazy that we have to do that's negative in the big scheme of things. And there's really a reason for everything. So one book, because I hate to always come to that. I hate when you ask a speaker a question and they say you need to read, but I can't teach you nearly as much as what all of the great leaders can teach you that have paved the path before us. So I think that it's critical that not only are you as an individual reading, I mean, I read probably a book a month, 2 books a month, one for fun and one for like business, like every month. I just love to read. But even when I didn't and when I was busy, I prioritized that because I knew that if mentally my head wasn't right, the rest of the wheels would fall off the bus too. So you've got to start with your mind first, really. Your mind has to be in the right place for the rest of it to follow. So reading. And then what does that have to do with my new people? I would try to get them reading as soon as possible. You know, I even did when I was an essay, because I had a lot of responsibilities and I was trying to get used to the schedule and the different things I had to balance. I actually read a book with my team. Like we read a book together. We read 1 chapter a week and then we would come together and we would have an hour-long discussion on it. What did you get out of it? What can we apply to our business? You know, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? But it was a way that I was able to have a meeting with my team and we were all able to gain some more tools, but it was also a way to kind of have us spend some time together. So I think that you've got to get people exposing themselves. Like all of the people that write books about business have done this, most of them at a high level. I shouldn't say all, but any of those people are going to have wisdom. All of that stuff is mindset. Like, it's not a crazy concept that, that people that work on commission are some of the highest paid. It's the highest paying industry in the United States. Did you know that? Like, your highest paid people work on commission. True story. So, I mean, why are we like focused on the fact that if we don't go to work, we don't make sales? Why are we not talking about how commission positions are the highest paid positions in the United States? I just think it's perspective. So the more that we can get people to focus on the proper perspective, and I shouldn't say proper because who says that I'm right, but the way that our mind needs to be focused in order to succeed in this business, we've got to help use other tools and not try to just do it all ourselves when we're in leadership, because there's always going to be people out there with a lot more experience than us and credibility than us that can help with that. I don't know if that helps. So, guys, I know this is running kind of long. So if you are like needing to be somewhere, please don't be offended, or I won't be offended if you have to go or jump off the call or anything like that. I do have, what time is it? My watch is still on Eastern time. So cool. So we've got I have like about 15 more minutes that I can spend. If you guys want to stay, you're welcome to, but if you have to go, please don't think anybody's going to be offended. Is anybody on virtual? Anybody have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, Eric, you can go.
No, you're good, Pat. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Natalie, obviously, like for new agents, like what's kind of your biggest tip for like new agents? Because obviously, like the first 6 weeks are really tough. There's a lot of like ups and downs, and like even for like essays, like life's great when you're selling. We all know that. Like if you're going through like a slump or like you're just going through a rough patch, what's like your biggest tip to kind of like stay level headed and get through it?
Ask for help. Like, I mean, that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. This is a team of people. This is not like one man alone on an island. And I think that when people start to struggle, they put themselves on an island. And then it's like, how do you expect to get off the island if you won't talk to anyone about getting off the island, right? So my point is just don't isolate yourself. Reach out to your leadership. Do it in a positive way. Surround yourself with people that are where you want to be. That's critical, because what happens is the new person, and I've seen this from experience. I'm not saying you guys in particular or all of you, but what I've seen in my experience is that the new guy that's struggling, instead of going to somebody that can help them, like a leader or somebody that's on fire or somebody that just absolutely is closing everyone they see, or somebody that's getting the most amount of referrals, instead of them doing that, they would rather go off in a corner and complain to their buddy about how broke they are. Like, I don't understand that. Like, why don't you surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do? You with me? That's what you need to do. You don't find the guy that is also miserable and go have like a misery loves company party, because that doesn't get anybody out of it. 2 negatives does not make a positive when it comes to attitudes, right? In science it does, but it does not when it comes to putting attitudes together. So my point is, listen, we all get frustrated. We all have moments where we're like, what am I doing? You need to get around people that know what they're doing and they know why they're here, and soak in a little bit of that instead of looking for the guy that's also struggling to go out in the parking lot and have a conversation about how horrible life is. It's our job to lift each other up and always be a positive influence for each other. So, that goes back to the people that you surround yourself with. Just do not hang out with people that are constantly focused on the negative side of things, because you'll fall into it yourself. Who else had a question on our virtual team? Because somebody said something.
That was me. I was actually going to ask what Pat said, but I also have like a second question for you. So you said that you had originally like retired from the company and then you came back. What like made you come back? Because I'm guessing retirement was sort of nice, right? especially so young, or you retired from the company? Sorry. So you might have went somewhere else.
Because this is my passion. Like, if you can't tell I start hollering at you guys, it's not because I'm mad. It's because I absolutely think this is the best opportunity in America. It's not that I don't think there's other great opportunities out there. It's not that I don't think there's other great insurance companies. I just don't think that I've ever seen people that are as cohesive, that care about each other as much as people do within this company, that care about the community, that really try to put people first, that the whole basis is on protecting. You go to a lot of these sales companies and it's like sell, 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 sell. I don't look at it that way. I'm not selling, I'm educating people on what they need to be financially stable for the future. So this is, to me, like, I wouldn't work anywhere else. So what happened is I was like, this is great. I don't have to go to the office. And that lasted about a week. And then I was like, but I don't want to do anything else. Like, I've done this at a high level for so long. I don't want to do it anywhere else. But I also wanted to change. Like, I don't have the patience level that I wish I had anymore for, the clients sometimes. And also just, I don't know, it was just better for me to come to this position. I wanted to work with leaders more than anything. And so coming to home office really gives you the ability to work with your high level leaders. So it was kind of the same job I'd always done, just in a different capacity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. That was great.
Christina, you had a question, dear?
I do. It's short and sweet, but I know you mentioned the book thing, and I love that you mentioned that, because I actually wanted to ask you, what are like your top 3 book recommendations? I know we have some newer people, we have some people in leadership, but like 3 solid books, doesn't matter what your level is, that you would suggest for everyone.
Okay. So the first one is actually a book that I read quite a while ago. It's not a new book, but I think that in our business, it's one of the most important books that you can read, and that's Start with the Why by Simon Sinek. And the whole point behind that book is really, one, a lot of it is psychology. People do not just naturally listen to what people tell them when they don't understand the why behind things. So Start with the Why talks about how whenever you're trying to get anyone bought into anything, which whether that's your business, yourself, your sales, your product, whatever that is, you need to start with why it's so important to them, what it means to them, right? Because they're interested in themselves. So that book has been extremely helpful to me through the sales side of things, and also especially through the leadership side of things. Start with the why. And then it's by Simon Sinek, which is Sinek. What's another good one that I love? John Maxwell. Most people will tell you to read the 21 Laws of Leadership. I would most definitely read the 21 Laws of Leadership, but I really like the 5 levels of leadership. And that's really about you focusing on increasing your leadership skills so that you can retain higher level people. If you've read the 21 Laws of Leadership, it talks about the law of the lid, and how if you are a 3, you will never attract a 10, because it's the law of attraction, right? The 10's not going to follow the 3. So the 5 levels of leadership helps you to really focus on what you can do to increase your leadership abilities. Sales wise, I liked for my new people, and I haven't read this one in a while actually, but I saw it in somebody's office in here. Grant Cardone, Sell or Be Sold. That was one of my first books that I read getting into sales, because I thought it was mind blowing to me, because it really helps you to understand that, like, sales is like a natural, like, it gets such a dirty name. Like, people act like sales is just such this horrible thing. And it's like, well, I mean, we could hate the rain too, but it's just something that happens. Like, sales is a natural part of the economy, right? Like, it's going to be sold. Something is going to be sold and exchanging hands at all times. So I don't know. I just think it kind of helps mentally with overcoming that stigma. And then also, you know, it just kind of made me realize that somebody is going to be providing these people with benefits. Do I want it to be me who's in their best interest or someone that I don't know? So that one just helped me when I was new to kind of embrace the sales side of things in general. And then another one that's good, and I don't remember the author on this, but it's called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling.
George Bedecker.
That's it.
One more time.
How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales. But sales is a lot about listening, guys, you know, and it's also a lot about psychology. It's really about understanding how people think and being able to, I don't want to say play on the way they feel, because I don't mean that we mess with their emotions, but it's really about bringing up things that are important to them that they care to protect, right? So there's a lot of books that can help you with that. If you really want to get good at sales, read a couple psychology books. I mean, I took 3 years of it in college, and that was probably one of the things that helped me with this the most. I know you mentioned that too. Like, I mean, that's a huge help if you understand like how people think and why people think the way that they do. You know what I mean? Cool. Anybody else have a question? We may have time for 2 more and then we'll shut it down. I hope this is helping you guys. I'm having fun talking to you, but I don't know if this is like content that's super impactful for some of you. Anybody else? Anyone in this room? Anyone? Anyone?
Could you just, for some of these new people, maybe resell us on why it's so important to get the MGA contract?
Well, I think that the MGA contract is really the point where you start, where things kind of reverse on you, meaning at the beginning of your career, it's like go, 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 input, 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 and then you get output, but it's not necessarily the output that you sometimes feel that you're worth. Not always, but sometimes, right? And really, guys, the MGA contract, I mean, we don't have MGAs in this company that are making under a 6-figure income. I mean, there might be a couple here and there, but especially not with this organization. Like that just won't, you know. So my point is, when you become an MGA, it starts to reverse where all of a sudden now you're making a lot more money than what you're putting in. And it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're slacking off. It's just that you've worked all this time to build it to the level where you don't necessarily have to put in 60 hours a week, right? I mean, listen, it's hard to be an SA and a GA because it's like you're learning how to be an MGA. It's almost like going to school for, you know, a year, 2 years. But think about that. Like I did it for 3.5 years. I went to school full time and I earned a full-time income with a full-time job so I could pay for school. And I did that for 3 years and nobody says anything that's weird about that. Right? Nobody thinks that's weird. There's nothing like completely out of the ordinary about that. That's just normal. It's what people have to do sometimes to get through school, right? So why do we act like this is so much like weirder and abnormal? What we don't want to do though is spend 5 years or 10 years. We're not on the 5 or 10 year essay plan here because you will get burnt out. Like train your people, train them the right way. Make sure you're putting their success first. If you put enough people's goals in front of your own, you'll always have what you have or what you want. Yeah, I think Zig Ziglar said something along those lines. It's like if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll always have what you want. And that's really the philosophy that I followed with my people. Like it was like, okay, so I have this goal. The way I looked at it mentally was I have this goal. I have 3 people right now. What are their goals? Okay, so I'm going to make sure my 3 people hit their goals. And then I'm going to go out and get how many more people I need to fill that gap between their goal and my goal, right? Because I have to coach people to their goals, something that's important to them. So the MGA contract, guys, I mean, listen, that's where you make all your money and bonuses, your residuals are higher, and there's just something to be said. You know, I always say when you're producing and you're making sales and you're enrolling families, you're adding to your wealth. There's nothing bad about that, right? But when you move into a leadership position, and I stayed focused on this always when I got frustrated, listen, you're not adding to your retirement and your wealth anymore. You're multiplying it, because it's not just what you're doing, it's what your people that are your training are doing. So make sure your training is good, because how much do you want to add to your retirement? Anybody else? One last question.
Is there, all right, real quick. So I like asking this question. I don't know why, but is there something that you wish you knew when you first started out that you know now? Like, is there some part of information that you wish you would have known as an SA, GA, MGA, whatever position, some big important information that impacted your business in this?
Yeah, I mean, the big one would definitely be recruiting. I mean, that's the biggest thing, honestly. The sales side of things, guys, was always pretty easy for me, just because when I came from Family Heritage, I mean, we went from knocking on people's doors that we've never met to having leads. So that to me, I mean, I think everybody should go to a company and go door to door for 2 weeks before they come here. Because they would be like, this is like a cakewalk. You know, it's all what you're comparing it to. So, I mean, I always laugh when I listen to these final interviews when people are like, oh, I just don't know if I could do that. And I'm thinking, oh, you could. Like, I mean, it's just, what do you see yourself, being able to accomplish? I mean, to me, I don't want to go dig a ditch somewhere. I don't want to be like doing physical labor. I think it's just people's perspective, what's challenging or difficult to them. So to me, that part of it was not difficult. Managing my emotions was difficult, because even though I was like fine with the sales, like we all have our bad days. You know what I mean? Like I probably quit once a week for my first 3 years. I just didn't tell anyone. Like every night. I'm done. I'm not doing this tomorrow. And then guess what would happen tomorrow? Here I go to the office, right? So I think that managing your emotions is probably one of the hardest parts about this business. And that's why it's so important. I don't remember who asked, like, what do you do when you're in a slump? Or what do you do when you're frustrated? Like that, listen, everyone gets frustrated. It's what they do with it. Your people that succeed surround themselves with people that have the answers, and your people that flame out of the business surround themselves with a pity party. Makes sense? That doesn't feel good anyway. Like, even if I don't feel good about something and I just go find someone to complain about with it, how do you feel walking away from that? Like, does anybody ever feel like uplifted and positive and like it was good to get it off their chest? Because I don't. It just makes it worse because you're dwelling on it, right? So I'm not saying that you have to be unrealistically optimistic, okay? But just surround yourself with people that give you a bright point of view and can help you get out of the situation that you're in, versus somebody that will complain about it with you. All right, guys. So with that, I really appreciate all of you guys' time today. I was going to keep this to an hour, but a little bird told me that sometimes Tommy just gets up here and goes on for like, the whole day. So I was like, if I can just keep it to under, I'm teasing. It's not that bad. But I knew that I had some more time with you guys. I really appreciate all of you that took the time to come today. And if there's anything that I can do to help you guys ever, let me know. And it'll be nice next time we do a workshop where I'll know everybody, because I've gotten to meet some of you in person. And I'm sure that I'll be back to see you guys soon, because we're back to traveling and being physically in the offices now, which is good after a year of being stuck in the house. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for
Bye,
joining
Natalie.
us. Virtually.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Natalie.
Great stop.
Yeah.